says I have no Wi-Fi, even though I do. Like, it says I have no internet access. It said that for the past like 2 days.
Huh?
Yeah, my PC says I
Wait,
have.
what says
My
that?
PC says I have no internet access, but I've had like it said that for like 3 days, but I actually do. But
Is it like the globe
yeah,
symbol?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's happened to me before,
What the
but for some
fuck?
reason, for the past like 3 days, it said that. So
Ah,
the only thing it
wow.
has restricted me
That,
from playing is Street Fighter Five. That's the only game it doesn't let me play online.
isn't that the game you play the most
I mean, I
now?
play it pretty often, but I wouldn't say it's the one I play the most. I play League more than anything now.
uh, Shit, that's a big switch up.
Not really.
I remember the days when you were shit talking League.
Yeah, it's because it was something that I didn't play, and so I was like, that's the worst version of the one I do play.
Mhm. All right, how's it going, folks? Welcome back to Somewhat Distracted podcast. Back at it again with the boy,
the
Big
the
Byler.
boy. Wait, do we know what number this is? Is this like 4, 5,
I
6?
think it's the fifth. I
Yeah,
don't know. I've
I don't
lost
know
track.
either. We've only done like 4 or 5 of them, but I still I already lost track of which one it is.
Whatever. You know, they get it. We come on here, we talk. You know, numbers aren't important.
That is true. That is something that we do.
Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know how many anime you've watched in the past month or so, but I've watched a few.
This last month for me was actually like not as much as I usually watch. I didn't watch that much this last month.
Same, actually.
Um, Not that I don't have enough to talk about, because there's some things I could say, which I will say. But yeah, it was a pretty. I don't know. I had a lot of gaps in between when I'd watch something. Like I'd watch like maybe 1 or 2 episodes one night, and then I'd be like, for the next few days, I'm not really in the mood. And then I'd come back and I'm like, okay, well then I'll watch like 2 or 3 more, and then I'm like, maybe I'll be good for now. And then I, so it was really weird. I did not watch. I mean, it's been longer than the usual time we space it out though. So I'd
Uh-huh.
say this goes as far back as like what, like
Yeah, I
early
put it off
February,
like
middle
another.
February when we recorded the last one.
I put it off a few weeks because I was building my new PC.
Yeah.
So I wanted to like transfer everything over and get it all set up. I actually, the tier list, the One Piece tier list, I have it all ready to go. I edited it. But for some reason, I was trying to render it the day before I was building my new PC, and it just wouldn't render. It just fucking crashed the Vegas. So like, I don't know. I gotta try it on the new one, but hopefully there's something. Uh, so hopefully the file isn't corrupted or something like that.
So do you wait?
Yeah.
So you haven't checked it since then?
No, because I haven't even downloaded Vegas
Oh,
into
okay,
my
okay.
system yet. Yeah.
That's fine. No rush.
But yeah, I had something similar with the gaps because like I would say right after our last podcast, not the tier list, but our last podcast where we talked about One Piece like the whole time.
Oh, that was the last one, really? Wow, that feels like so long ago.
Yeah. Um, I I watched like two shows, oh no, three shows right off the bat, like right after that, and then I like a huge gap, and then I watched like one more show like in that whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you want to
Um, but yeah.
take the stage and tell
Yeah, so
me,
I'm gonna start it
yeah.
off because I know you and Mitch have already seen this, but I haven't gotten a chance to talk about it.
Ooh, okay.
Demon Slayer.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, I did see that you were watching that. I saw that you were tweeting about it, whatever. So, I want to hear all the thoughts.
Yeah. Obviously UFO Table, you know, just killing it with the
They
animation.
are
Like,
always.
name me a show that they haven't made look at least okay.
I mean, to be fair, the earliest things I've seen from them is like Fate, like the actual Fate that they
Yeah.
did. So that would have been, I think, Zero was their first one. So that's like the
There's
earliest
only
that I
one
know.
show that I've seen by them that isn't like top tier animation quality, and and I haven't even like I watched like 3 episodes of it. There's a show called God Eater on Netflix.
Oh, they did that? Interesting. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a weird animation style.
I've
It's not
I've seen
necessarily
clips.
bad, but it's
I've
different.
seen clips. I
Yeah.
haven't watched it.
But yeah, Demon Slayer is not what I was expecting. Like the it was 26 episodes and it honestly it felt like the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but it was only the first movie. Like it was all a setup.
Yeah, I mean
You know what I mean?
that's what I got from it too. It's definitely more of a like prologue type, almost. I think a lot of people were like, "Oh man, this sucks. There's no content in it." Well, I mean, it is only the first season. Like some shows just pace themselves different than others. Like it's not like you should expect the entirety of the first half of the entire fucking story to be in the first season or whatever. But
I wasn't necessarily expecting that, but like I heard everyone giving it nines and tens, and I'm like, this better fucking bang.
I think I gave it an 8 when I watched it. But
I
I
gave it
still
an eight
think
as
it's
well.
really solid. Like I don't see really much flaws with it.
Oh yeah, no, 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 that's not my point. I think it's a great setup for the rest of the show, and like it almost catches you off guard because it starts off really simple. The stereotypical. You come home, your family's murdered,
Yeah,
whatever.
stereotypical. Like yeah.
Yeah, I know.
um,
At the end of the first episode, shit goes wrong. Whatever. Spoiler alert, by the way, but that's not really a spoiler because it's in the first
to the
episode,
first
so it's
like
not really.
half an hour
Yeah.
or something. Yeah. Uh,
um. Yeah. So the dynamic with the demons was pretty interesting. It's something I'd never seen before, and I think probably the most interesting part of the show, other than the plot and the characters, is the setting for me because they they take like an late 1800s slash early 1900s setting when it's almost like uh industrial revolution Japan,
mhm.
where all of those little towns in the countryside, they haven't had electricity yet. It's only the big cities that just got it. So when all these people get to the big cities, they're like, what the fuck is going
Yeah.
on?
Yeah. Because usually it's either like actual like 21st century style stuff, or it's like Edo era in terms of like the Japanese like swordsman shows.
Hmm.
So yeah, it is an interesting point that you made about like the kind of middle ground almost.
Yeah, the only other show that I've seen that is even remotely like that is Golden Kamuy.
Okay, yeah,
And
yeah.
I
I've
think that's
seen
during World
some
War
from that.
One, if I remember correctly.
Hmm.
And I need to go back and rewatch that because I kind of forget what happened. I only watched the first season of that, but yeah. But yeah, the whole dynamic with the demon core and the demon slayers, not fully explained what the deal is with this guy. What the fuck was his name? The head demon guy. Mizan Kubutsuji, is that right?
I
Yeah,
think
I think
so.
that's right.
I think so. I don't know. It's actually been pretty long since I've seen the first
Yeah,
season.
so like it's really interesting. It's just there's a lot of stuff that hasn't been explained yet. I like the whole dynamic with training to be a demon slayer, passing the trial, getting your color changing sword, which
That was
I
pretty
would
cool.
like to learn more about,
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
but it's cool. So there's a lot of cool. There's just not a lot of world building
Yeah, yeah,
for me.
I would agree with that. I'd say it's very scratching the surface. Um, but even while having like barely any actual like world building or like set up around the initial like threat, so to say. I mean, it is a threat, but it's like it's the
Yeah,
plot.
yeah. It's peripheral
Um,
world building.
there's still a lot of content, like a lot of. I mean, there's a lot of depth to every action sequence and stuff, and all the demons
Hmm.
involved, and some of them even have actual backstories and all that stuff. It's an
I did.
interesting route.
I really appreciated the humanizing of the demons
Yeah.
because, like, if they didn't do that, it would kind of just be hollow killing.
Hmm.
So like, it's something you almost don't know you want until they do it. But yeah, you're at the end. You're glad they did it.
Yeah, because I mean, like some shows can pull off the just like killing the mindless like zombie whatever it is. It's like just the not actual human people. Like it's just kind of like it's like your
Hmm.
typical like zombie movie or something. Like something sometimes that can be pulled off, but I feel like it kind of draws my engagement away when it's not like they don't have their own reasons for fighting. It's just kind of like killed, you know, I'm just not, I'm not
Yeah,
the
yeah.
craziest fan of that style. So to have like actual like emotional scenes involving the other side, I always appreciate that.
Yeah. As far as the characters, I have one. Maybe it's just because I watch the dub, but maybe it's I have one slight issue with the main guy, Tanjiro. He's a little too pure for me, but I get it. Like that's how protagonists are. So
Hmm.
I'm not gonna make that a main gripe for me. It's just one thing that gets to me. Other than that, I don't think there's a character that I really dislike. Like Zenitsu can be annoying, but he's funny. Inosuke is fucking amazing, even though he's voiced by Kirito. But he makes his voice a lot deeper, so you almost can't tell, but you know it's him.
I actually didn't know that about the
Um,
dub. That's pretty funny.
yeah,
The
yeah.
only issue I have in terms of
Uh,
the characters is that it almost seems like each of them were given like a certain trope to encompass around, and it's just kind of like that's their thing. Like obviously it's not that straightforward. Um, but like, you know, one character's the like crybaby, scared of everything guy. One of them's the like, you know, uh, crazy, wants to fight everything guy. Like it's obviously not
yeah,
like
yeah.
that bad, but it's like, you know, it still feels like everyone was given the like a trope that they're supposed to follow, and it's just it's a little weird, but I still like the characters enough to overlook that. Like everyone still has decent writing behind what they do, so it makes sense.
Yeah, one thing I would like to learn more about is like, do you know how like Zenitsu has like crazy amazing hearing, and then Tanjiro has an amazing nose? Is that just like do characters just have these crazy enhanced senses? Like I hope it's not just those two. Like I know Inosuke did that thing where he kind of just like echolocated or whatever the
Yeah.
fuck. Um, but yeah, is that just an inherent ability? Like I want to know like because that's not normal. I'm just saying.
I don't know. I don't know. That is I guess that's something we'd have to wait to learn maybe, or maybe they'll just overlook it.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean it's a really good setup. Like I don't even know what else more to say. Like at the end, like the last 4 episodes where you get to meet all like the hotshot Hashira demon slayers. Like I thought that was pretty damn cool.
Yeah, yeah, they're
And
all like interesting looking. Um and there's that one that's like a straight up asshole that just like really wants to kill like everything. Um
yeah, yeah,
and it was a good like I think people a lot of people have issues with like the slowdown episodes like towards the end of a season because it's right after the like insanely impactful climax whatever. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, it
Mhm.
really slows down after this episode. I mean, it's supposed to. Like it was a good setup for the next arc and it was a good ending, like quote unquote ending, because it's obviously not an ending, but
Well, yeah. Well, it's weird though because the episode where they get done with the fight in the forest and they basically take uh they basically take Tanjiro and his sister back and all the other people from like the brink of death. And then, Tanjiro wakes up in front of the Hashira, like basically on trial. Like usually that's the point where they end the season. But no, they went another few
yeah.
episodes and built up the next season. When normally those next few episodes would be the start of the next season.
Yeah, I actually didn't even think about that. I can see why you say that. Um I don't know, maybe they didn't want like the crazy big stereotypical cliffhanger. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know.
No, I'm glad what the way they did it. I'm just think people don't really aren't really used to that style.
Yeah, yeah. It was a lot more
Yeah.
slow down, resolve everything, and then prepare for the next arc kind of thing. Even
Yeah,
with the
yeah.
whole trial related stuff right after the big conflict that happened.
So yeah, why don't we go back and forth this time because having one person just keep going on.
Okay.
So what have you been watching? Give me one.
Which one first? I guess I'll do this chronologically. I think right after we yeah, okay, I just remembered. Right after we finished like the last one and we were talking about One Piece, whatever, I was still watching Arakawa Under the Bridge. I remember that, and I was watching the second season
Yep,
of it.
yep.
I actually never finished it. I watched like half of it, and I was like, this is kind of like the same thing as the first season, which is just like a comedy show. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna watch something that a little different. I'm gonna switch it up. So I think right after that is when I went to Jujutsu Kaisen, um, which
Oh,
I only watched the first.
is that finished?
No, the last episode airs in the next like couple days, I think, or maybe
Okay.
next week. Uh, but I watched the first arc, the first 13 episodes, because I was told by a friend that it's like a good drop off point, and I was really itching to watch it because I heard it's really good and whatever. I've heard all this hype, which I mean, every big shonen kind of has a lot of hype around it, and then it makes you want to watch it, whatever.
Hmm.
So I did, and I wasn't like just kind of maybe looks in the same way that you had Demon Slayer, but a little more disappointing in my regard. I wasn't expecting the way it went and the way it did things. And I actually I think was overhyped on it because I was not crazy about it after I watched it.
Yeah.
Um, I watched the first like only the first like full arc, and I don't know. It's just like I felt like things were paced really fast, like thing, or maybe it was like that they were paced awkwardly because the first like 3 or 4 episodes felt like they went by like in a blink in terms of like what happened and the pacing and stuff, and then it kind of like slows it down to typical like seasonal shonen pace. And then when the actual
Hmm.
like big conflict part of the arc starts happening, it just races through it again. And I'm like, oh well, I would like a little more build. Like this is the way I was thinking about it. It would have benefit. I think it would benefit a lot more, other than obviously the drawbacks that this type of show has. I think it would benefit a lot more from being a long running shonen, something like Black Clover or something, which is just kind of going
Sure.
and you know just letting the arcs play out longer than maybe 12, 10 episodes. Because I feel like with a lot more build up, a lot of the like emotional impactful scenes, or like a lot of the plot device related scenes that are supposed to enhance like a build up to a big climax or whatever. I think that they would have benefited more to having more episodes to build up, because like there's obviously, I'm not going to say because I don't know, I don't think you've seen it or whatever, but
No,
um
I haven't.
I don't know. I Some things that happen like 4 episodes in could have been way more impactful if they happened like 9, 10, 11 episodes in. Same thing with like there's something really big that happens like right before like the quote unquote final fight of the first arc. And it had like two
Hmm.
episodes of build up, and it felt just so it fell flat with me. I didn't really get any emotional attachment to anything that happened. And I don't know. I mean, obviously the animation is really nice. Like it's done by Mappa, and Mappa's going crazy this year. But because they picked up like 4 shows. But I don't know. I have issues. I have issues with it, and I'm in the minority. I'm in the very big minority. Because I mean, other than the fact that it got Anime of the Year from the Anime Awards, which I think is questionable because it's like not. It wasn't even done. It was like
Yeah.
18 episodes in when it got animated. I was like, maybe you should let it finish first. But
Yeah, it was like it was at like a similar point to maybe obviously a little farther along, but a similar point to Attack on Titan, in which it started airing last year, but it's still only like halfway through the season,
yeah, and that didn't
so
even have
can't really
nominations
rate it.
because it was not done. But I guess that didn't matter for
Yeah,
Jujutsu
and
Kaisen.
thank God it didn't, because that wouldn't have made
Yeah,
any
but I guess
sense.
that didn't matter for Jujutsu Kaisen because it still got nominated and it won. But I'm not gonna trash on it. It's the majority opinion. I'm in the minority in my opinion that it's a little disappointing for me so far. But hopefully the second half, because I'm gonna go back to it whenever it finishes. I think it finishes either, like I said, in the next couple days or maybe a week from now in the next couple days. Um, I'm gonna watch the second arc of it, the second half, and hopefully that maybe clears up a lot
Hmm.
of the like weird rushed pacing issues, and maybe it was just like the first arc that felt rushed. I don't know. But like I said, I've only watched the first half of the first season, so my full opinion can't really be given. But for the most part, that's my opinion on that.
Okay, so do you know how many volumes of the manga are there? Do you know how many like seasons there are going to be?
I mean, from the hype and popularity it's getting, they're probably going to adapt the full thing. Now, as for how many volumes or whatever chapters, I don't know. I'm sure I could literally look it up right
Okay,
now, but
because there.
um,
The reason I ask is because like there's this weird almost aspect to pacing in anime that if you don't know anything about the source material and you go into it blind, you almost have to reserve your judgment on the pacing until you finish a particular season. Like it happened with me with Demon Slayer. Like I didn't know that the 26 episodes of the first season weren't it. Like I didn't know there was going. I thought there would be a second season, but I didn't realize. I didn't have any sort of preconceived notion that this wasn't going to be the big epic in just 26 episodes.
oh, okay.
So I so you almost have to kind of alter your perception of pacing based on how the season ends or how the show ends. But from the sounds of it, it sounds like, and I'm just assuming here, because it sounds like there's going to be more seasons of Jujutsu Kaisen, that your criticisms are founded. Obviously, I would have to watch it to, come up with my
Yeah,
own
yeah.
opinion. But it doesn't sound like you're too
Yeah,
crazy
I
there.
just
Like
I
it
just
sounds like
looked it up.
those are pretty
147
legitimate
chapters,
criticisms.
15 volumes, and like currently there's only the 24 episodes that are airing. Um, so there's and apparently that's encompassing 10 arcs. So out of maybe the one I watched is considered only the first arc. Maybe it's only the first half of the first arc. I don't know. It felt like the first arc. Like it felt like the whole first arc. So nine more, maybe 10 more arcs. Um,
Sure.
but I don't know. It just maybe I'm just super analytical, super critical, but I don't know. It just felt really weirdly paced, and because of it, a lot of the like emotional attachment to things just felt really detached for me. So I just didn't really care about half the things that were
Yeah.
happening, and it was just kind of me watching a pretty picture show because the animation it's gorgeous. Like the animation, art style, the character designs are really nice. The detailing, all of it visually looks very pleasing to the eyes. As for the content, we'll see, we'll see.
Yeah. That's really interesting. Do you know, like, maybe it could do a thing where, you know how Attack on Titan first season was just no holds bar action,
Mm-hmm.
basically? Could it could it pull like an Attack on Titan season 2 where okay, this season we're doing character development?
Maybe. I mean, there was like, and actually, I was about to say there's a little bit of development, but maybe there's more development in the second half. I'm not going to say too much about it because I can't give too much criticism
Yeah,
with
yeah,
only
yeah.
watching as much as I've seen. But I feel like there was like kind of development. Like there was development with
I mean there
the like main character to an extent. But
yeah, yeah.
yeah, it very well could. It could completely change its tone, or maybe it just wants to keep the steady flow of what it's doing. Uh, I'll never know until I see it. So, or unless I
Okay.
decide to get impatient and read the manga. But if I know it's going to come out as an animated form, which I do know, I mean, it seems pretty guaranteed that there's going to be more. It's very popular. I'll just wait. I'll wait for an adaptation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely how many more episodes does it have
I
left?
watched like the first 13, and it's a 24 episode season.
That's all right, so another Sorry. So it's going to finish like at the same time Promise Neverland, Attack
Yeah,
on Titan,
it's a
Doctor Stone,
seasonal, so
all those
everything
finish.
will kind of finish at the same point.
Yeah.
A 24 episode season or whatever. Um,
Okay, cool. Yep. May is gonna be crazy.
yeah, it will, because we're gonna be watching everything like after all the hype because we're waiting
Yep.
for it all to finish airing. It's the only issue with the way we do things. We're always behind.
I just
I can't watch.
I
I
can't do it.
can't.
I can't do episodically.
There are
It's
some shows that are in an episodic format that can be watched weekly, but because most of these are like gradually developing plots, it just feels weird with the 1 week gap.
yeah. Like with live action shows, with most mainstream shows like on Netflix or HBO, you get an hour per episode. And granted, there are only like 7 to 10 episodes, but an hour? Like that's enough.
Yeah.
Like and with anime, it's 20 to 24 minutes per episode roughly. And then you have to consider how long the opening and the ending take and how much recap there
Yeah.
is. it's just not enough. You need 2 or 3 episodes per
I
viewing.
agree. I agree.
Yeah.
But a lot of people like to stay relevant with it, and when it airs, everyone
Yeah,
can talk
that's
about it.
the main reason
Yeah.
to keep episodically watching it. All right. So, right after Demon Slayer, I didn't stop. I hopped right into another one, and maybe the funniest anime I've watched. Like, I feel like it's weird though because comedy, at least for me, is something anime kind of just puts in as a side thing. It's not really the main point
Yeah.
of the show. But One Punch Man made it the main thing.
Oh,
And
you watched that. You watched One Punch. Okay.
yeah,
For some reason for a second I was like, didn't you already see that? For some reason I felt you've already seen it. I don't know why.
no.
Okay. Did you watch both
I
seasons?
mean, it has been like a month. Yeah, I
Okay.
did. I watched both
Okay.
seasons. It has been like a month or so since I've seen it, but I just love the whole vibe. I just love like this guy doesn't give a fuck. He had this totally basic training regimen to get out of his shitty life, and everyone's just asking him how he's so strong, and he's like, "Well, you got to do this," and you're like, "What?"
Yeah, it was like what was it, like 100 push-ups, sit-ups, whatever every day or something like that.
And then yeah, it was like 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 crunches, and then like a 10-mile run or something like that.
Yeah, it was really funny, especially because like one of the early episodes, there's like this weird uh like genetically modified like alien thing that he's fighting, and like they like you said, they ask him that. They're like, "How is he so strong?" And he just says, "Well, yeah, I've just been doing some push-ups, you know."
Yeah. And then his boy, his Genos is like, "Do not mock me, master."
Oh yeah, because he thinks he's like the supreme being or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Genos, I love because it's so obvious that if it was a different show, if Saitama wasn't the main guy, Genos would obviously be the main guy, and it wouldn't be a comedy,
Yeah.
and it would just be a generic comic Japanese style comic book show. But that's the whole point. They make it out to be so fucking generic, and then they add this one dynamic, and it makes it completely different,
Yeah, it's
and
pretty much
it's
it's pretty much a
amazing.
parody on the superhero genre is what it is. And in that sense, it's really
Yeah,
funny.
that's exactly what
A
it
lot
is.
of people, though, I will say this, a lot of people have a lot of issues with it going in more of a plot-driven direction in the second season, which is, in my opinions, pretty dumb to think because I still liked season two, but it's like the most hated thing ever. I don't know what your opinion is on it. What'd you think?
Well, here's my opinion on this. My opinion on this is I love season one. Season one was great. It was exactly what you expect from the show that they kind of set out. But the thing is, you can't just do that again. It would fall flat. Because how are you supposed to make a more nuanced, interesting show if you don't build the world? So I honestly have no problem with what they did in season
Thank
two.
you.
I wouldn't say it's better than season one, but it's not worse than season one. It's kind of just the same, but a different
Another
vibe.
thing that I think was the dumbest thing ever, and this was like the biggest criticism, was that because it was picked up by a different studio, it wasn't done by Bones. The animation like wasn't as good or up to the standards of the first season, so everyone was like, "It doesn't look as good. It's
It
garbage."
was yeah, it was a different
Visually, it was a
studio.
little worse, yeah, but I'm pretty sure it was. I
Yeah,
want to say it was JC Staff or someone like that.
no, it was Madhouse.
Was it?
Madhouse. Yeah,
One Okay. Anyway, well, yeah.
Madhouse first season, JC Staff second
Wait, it
season.
was Madhouse first season? I thought it was Bones.
No, it was Madhouse.
Really? Interesting. I thought it was Studio Bones.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, regardless, JC Staff, like for the most part, doesn't really do action series to begin with, so they did a good enough job picking up at least a bit of the slack. Like I thought it was good. I thought it was fine. I had no
No,
issues, and
it
plus,
was good.
I don't really
Yeah,
surround all of my enjoyment around animation. Like that's, I mean, I was literally just talking about Jujutsu Kaisen. Like good animation doesn't save the slight issues I have with it so far, and
yeah,
bad animation doesn't kill my enjoyment of a show either. Which it's not even bad. It's still good enough. It's just that Madhouse did so crazy good with the first season visual wise that it just doesn't stack up in
Hmm.
the second season as much. But I don't care. I still liked the plot. I think Garo is like one of the best villains in like fiction. Like he's awesome. Um, I don't know. I don't really have that many issues with season two. Like another thing that people were saying was like the lack of Saitama makes it like just really unenjoyable because that's the whole reason why people watch the series called One Punch Man. I'm like, I mean, I guess, but
Yeah, no, but like the reason behind all of this side stuff and this character development is to make the interactions with Saitama when they do happen more
yeah, which
interesting.
he still shows up a
Because
decent amount. It's like once every couple
yeah, he
episodes.
does. Like it's not like he disappears. Like what? Like in season one, obviously he's the main guy, but they're trying to set this vibe of what the world is. But they haven't really fleshed out anything specific or anything detailed about it.
And there wasn't really
And
a
that's the
like
point of the
actually
second
there wasn't
season.
an actually like written villain in the first season. It was mostly just these stereotypical like superhero villains that are like aliens or like monsters, like the typical like stereotype enemies for
Yeah.
like a superhero show. So then when there's actually one that needs backstory and writing, it takes a lot of the screen time away from the other characters, obviously, because you have to make this character seem like interesting enough to be a villain. And that's what they did. Like Garo is awesome. Like you almost want to root for him half the time.
Mhm.
Uh, so
And the one thing, the one thing a lot of people don't know is that One Punch Man started out as a fan-made manga.
yeah, I remember
And
that.
they adapted that. They redid the animation and they created a story behind it. So it's kind of a hollow sort of narrative to begin with, and they're trying to build something around this idea of having this crazy overpowered bald dude.
Yeah, I that's another thing where you and I are in the minority though, because like I said, it season two did not do that well, which sucks because I really liked it. I'm still hoping that there's
Yeah,
going to be a
I
season
think
three
that's
because
ridiculous.
I mean, the way season two left off
Oh, there
was,
better be a
yeah, season
season
two
three.
left
Oh
off in a
my
pretty
god.
cliffhanger way. Not like
Yeah.
cliffhanger, like stereotypical, like someone's about to die cliffhanger, but it's like it just, it dropped off before the plot could finish for that arc. So yeah, and the
Hmm.
manga, like visually, have you seen like the more recent like, or have you seen like the panels for the actual manga?
Yeah, I've seen
It's
some. I've seen some of the
crazy.
panels.
It is so good
Yeah.
looking. So like, there's a decent fan base for the manga because of how just like visually gorgeous it is, and apparently it's like still got really good plot, which is funny. That's another thing. Like, people will say that the manga is really good, but then they'll shit on the second season, which adapts the manga. Like, what? They're clearly basing it
Hmm.
off the animation at that point, or maybe the direction in terms of like what they chose to adapt. I guess I don't know. Maybe I don't entirely understand it. I'm not here to like start a fight, but it just I feel so weird about that whole thing because I thought it was fine.
Yeah, it's. I mean, how are they supposed to build a more complex narrative without world building?
And without
People
like,
do people not understand that?
yeah,
Like I know it's supposed to be a comedy, but like you can't just build your entire show. Like at that point it's just like an episodic thing you watch on Saturday morning Cartoon Network. Like has no meaning at that point. It's just something you watch just to get a laugh. Like what's the point?
I think a lot of people preferred the just jokingly overpowered superhero moments of the first season. So maybe that's,
It's still there
yeah,
though. It's just not
yeah.
as it they don't inject it into your veins quite as violently as they do in the first season.
I don't know. I don't know.
So yeah, the one thing I hope is that they just don't explain why he's so incredibly strong, because that
Well, that's the
kind of
thing. I'm pretty sure that
builds
that
that
literally
veil
is why
of
he's so
comedy.
strong. I'm pretty sure that's actually how he did it.
Yeah, but I hope they
Oh,
don't go
okay.
deeper into that and try to
You hope
actually come up with a
okay, you
reason,
you hope it's not like
because
some,
then that would just ruin the whole
yeah, that
thing.
that makes sense. I agree. That makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, like I don't know. I don't have too much to say about it, but I just hope it continues, and I don't really understand the criticism.
It's whatever. They'll they
Yeah.
they won't understand us. It's fine. Um, okay, is that all you have any more thoughts on that?
Yeah, let's I mean, I obviously have a few more shows,
Oh, I
but
thought
yeah,
you meant
let's
it.
go
All
to
right,
you.
never mind. Okay, well, if we're gonna bounce back and forth, then I'm trying to think. I'm trying to remind myself of like what I watched in what order, because like I said, I haven't watched that much. There was okay. So I remember a couple of things. This last month, I had a couple like hiccups in trying to find something to watch because I was hitting the stereotypical you finish one show and you don't know what to watch next, or maybe that's just me.
Yeah.
Um,
Nah, everyone's like
but I started a couple and then I dropped a couple, like two or three shows I tried to watch and I just dropped them. And I usually don't do that. I'm usually too scared to try something I don't know if I'll like. I usually just look at the scores and I'm like,
Yeah.
I heard this is really good, and then I watch it, and usually I like it. Um, but I actually started a couple that like I haven't heard that much about, but they just like piqued my interest, whatever. So I watched them. Um, one of those was I need to remember the name here. It's a weird. Well, it's not a weird name, but it's like I forget what it's called. That's what it is. Braves of the Six Flowers. That's what it is. Um, weird show. Really, really like. I mean, not weird setup, but like, basically, apparently there's this like demon god thing that like gets unsealed from its seal every like 100 years, I think. And there's people chosen to like fight it and seal it back up every time. It's like an
Hmm.
ancestor thing. Like you just kind of get chosen to um, make sure this thing doesn't
Sounds like
destroy the world every 100 years. Which I feel like I've heard before in terms of like a
sounds like a very Fate style
okay, that's what
vibe.
I was thinking of. I felt like I heard that setup before. Obviously, there's nothing that like the summoners in Fate are like defending. It's more so just fighting for the Holy Grail. But um, it's like
Yeah.
every like era, there's this new group that is chosen to like fight and defend against this demon god thing. I don't know. I only watched like three episodes.
Um,
But
does it have a Japanese name? I've
I
never heard
think
of
the
it.
Japanese name is literally called like Roka no Yusha or something like that. I just know that it's called like Braves of the Six Flowers. That's the name that I knew it
Okay.
by. The only
Keep going.
thing that
I
like
have no idea.
it tried to do a little differently was like there was I mean there was six people chosen from like all around this fake world that was made. And apparently there was like a seventh one that was called like the Brave Killer that was like literally trying to like kill the rest of them for some reason. But I didn't get far enough to like actually
Oh,
know.
so there's an
Apparently,
imposter.
yeah, but I didn't get far enough to actually like know or care. I watched like the first three episodes, and like the animation was interesting. I think it was done by Studio. Which one was it? Was it? I don't remember. It was a pretty like good looking show. Like it had decent art and it had pretty all right animation, but most of the like demon things in it were like entirely CG, and it wasn't great CG either. So that just
Mhm.
that alone, I was like, oh, I don't care about this. It looks bad. So I don't know, and the plot wasn't really that interesting. The characters seemed pretty boring, so I was like, I'm just gonna drop it. So that was the first one that I like started and then dropped. Actually, that wasn't the first one. That was the second one. I forgot about the other one. I also started um, something that was written by the same uh, mangaka that did. At least I think it was the same mangaka that did Sangatsu no Lion. March Comes Not the Lion is the same person who wrote that, and it has like the exact same art style. So it I'm pretty sure it was definitely the same one. It was called
Hmm.
oh my god, what was it called? Why do I forget? No. Why did I forget what it was called? Oh no.
Just look it up real quick.
I mean, how do I forget this? I felt like I spent so much time. Oh, Honey and Clover. That's what it's called. That's what it's called.
Oh, I
Honey and
feel like I've heard
Clover.
of that.
It's an old one. It's from pretty early 2000s, and
Okay.
I thought I was gonna like it because I was like pretty hyped up on this, knowing that it was written by the same mangaka, but I don't know. It wasn't really drawing me in enough. It was just an entirely like romance driven series, which usually I'm pretty into, but I wasn't with this one. So I watched like the first I think 5 episodes, and then I just dropped it. The one thing that I will say is interesting about it is it takes place in college, not high school. So that alone was unique.
That's
Yeah,
refreshing.
it's refreshing. It is. It took place at an art school.
Yeah.
It was like this group at an art school, and it like there was relationships that like eventually apparently developed. But I mean, it was funny. The first like 5 episodes, I will admit, the comedy was pretty nice. Which I mean, March Comes Like a Lion had very like wholesome, good comedy. Like it was pretty funny. Obviously, that's not like what it was trying to do. It was definitely more human
Yeah.
drama, emotionally driven, but
Wasn't the main.
it had some funny moments. And Honey and Clover has the same thing. pretty good like funny moments. Um, but I didn't make it far enough to like get interested enough. I mean, I gave it I think 5 episodes, 4 episodes, but I couldn't stay with it. So yeah, those were the two that I like watched and then dropped. And then the next one that I actually like fully have started watching. I'm not done with it yet, but this is the most recent one. Um, Welcome to the Ballroom is what it's called. Yes, you heard that right. A
I
series about
don't
ballroom
know that.
dancing.
Whoa.
Yes. Now,
Okay.
now here's the thing though. There are shows in the Japanese animated like scene that are about a weird ass thing that
Universe.
you don't care about, and they make you care about it. Like that is a common thing. I don't know if you've had that. I'm trying to think of what you
Like
like. Let's say Doctor Stone.
like volleyball.
Let's say like Doctor Stone. Okay, like unless you're a science
Okay.
geek, like just a science driven show about just like inventing and learning stuff, it's kind of weird to think about. But then you watch it, and you're like, hell yeah, science! Like I was hella into it after I started
Oh,
watching Doctor Stone. But at first I was like, science. But then I watched it. I was like, oh hell yeah! And then same thing, like you said,
well,
with volleyball, like Haikyuu. I didn't really care that much about sports in
yeah,
general, but like Haikyuu made me love volleyball, and so now I love volleyball.
yeah, right.
Um,
Well, the thing is about Doctor Stone is that I didn't know it was gonna be science driven.
oh really?
I just heard, oh, these people get turned to stone. Okay,
That's literally all
let's
you
go.
had from it. That's actually
Yeah,
pretty funny.
that's all I had.
That's actually pretty funny. I didn't know that. I don't know. Like I obviously, I liked science class when I was in like middle school, high school, whatever. But I wasn't, you know, I didn't really want to like watch something that was entirely science based. But Doctor Stone isn't entirely science based, and it actually makes
They make
science interesting by adding like a
they
post
they
apocalyptic setting
do.
and stuff like that.
Doctor Stone does what every good science teacher has ever done, and they make it fun.
Yeah.
They do demonstrations. They let you see what the fuck is going on instead of reading out of a textbook and writing down formulas and bullshit like that.
Yes. So, in
Yeah.
in the in the vein of things that like initially seem not that interesting, but then like, you know, being animated make things interesting. That's how Welcome to the Ballroom is for me. It's literally a series about fucking ballroom dancing, and I am into it. So, here's another thing though. There's two things that are involved with this that also make me hella into this. One of that being Production IG. That's the studio that's animating it. That is also the studio that made Haikyuu. And the animation and direction in general and stuff for that series is like, I mean, clearly top notch. You've heard me gush about it, whatever. It also, Production IG also
Yeah.
does. I mean, in my opinion, Production IG is just the kings of the sports genre because, like, they also did Run with the Wind, which is another one of my favorites. And it's by the same studio. And that's a sports series about running, like literally just running. Uh, but I love it to death because it actually adds like drama and like character development and shit like that, which is what makes a good show like that. Um, and then another thing that makes me really like it is that the OST is done by the great Yuki Hayashi, which you've also heard me talk about because they did the Haikyuu OST, they did the Run with the Wind OST. So
Mm.
two things that I fucking love about the sports genre are both a part of this show, and that alone, like, it's visually just stunning to watch. Um, but also production ID. I mean, this is about like ballroom dance. Like the main character wants to become a dancer. I think it actually takes place in like late middle school, so it's not even like a high school show. I don't think. I don't know. There was a couple times they brought up middle school, but then they've also said high school a couple times. I still don't know because they
Interesting.
don't really focus a lot of like the classroom related stuff for the characters. But and I'm also only halfway through, I think. Um, but a lot of people that have talked about this show because it came out in 2017. They said, "Oh, well, everyone's necks are super long in this." But like, if you ever watch like actual anything dance related, like professional dance related, everyone's necks are fucking long because you gotta the whole thing about like your posture is that you're supposed to lower your shoulders and like lift your head and like straighten your posture. So everyone's neck looks super long in dancing. So that's one thing like production IG, sorry, does like amazing with sports series. They make really realistic and proportionate looking characters. Like everyone looks very normal. They look very how they're supposed to, and it's definitely showing in this show more than any other because I mean the whole thing is about like, the fluidity and how like the art of dance, whatever. It's something I wouldn't give a
Yeah.
shit about until now, but now I actually kind of give a shit about it. I'm not like crazy about it. I still think it's like maybe I'm comparing it to like Haikyuu or like Run with the Wind, which I shouldn't be, but I am. So in that regard, it's not as good in terms of like its contents, but it's still really interesting. Like
How
I'm
would
still pretty into it.
how would you rate the animation?
That's the thing. The animation is great because I love how Production IG does like really fluid, flowy animations with like movements and like especially because there's some scenes that involve like techniques, like dance techniques, whatever, and there's like someone's leg will go super far and there'll be like a camera angle that shows it like almost looking longer than it should for a second and it's like a slight
Yeah.
exaggeration that enhances a scene that I think is just really cool. um
Because like the thing is with shows that focus on singular stuff like dancing, or I haven't seen it, but anime like The God of High School, which focuses on like little just fighting, which I've heard looks amazing, just the fights. If you're focusing on something so specific, then you gotta nail the animation on
hmm
it.
yeah, I agree. And it's like I don't know. It's just it's not your typical like crazy balls to the wall. Like when you think of something that needs to be made interesting with animation, you usually think that they just like over anime it. Like I don't know if you've seen anything of Kuroko no Basket or Kuroko's Basketball, the English translation name. It's literally a
I've
basketball
seen
anime, and it
frames
is
and
it is the
scenes,
most
but yeah.
anime ever. Like it is balls to the wall. These characters look like they have superpowers, going nuts. Like, but it's about basketball. Now, not to say that I don't like it because I do love Kuroko, but because I've seen all of it, I just it's you got to watch it for different reasons. It's there's not
Mm-hmm.
like a ton of emotion behind it. It's more so just a badass like people fucking playing basketball. But that's
Yeah, yeah.
like the most like anime way to go about it is to just exaggerate the shit out of it and make it look crazy. But um, the way that, and I don't think that's. I'm pretty sure that's maybe Madhouse or something. Um, but the way that they did it with a series like Ballroom is that it's really realistic. They try and make it so it's very much so almost like a green screen, like someone just standing next to a green screen. Like that's what half of these scenes look like. Like the character proportions and how they look is very realistic, and that's something I appreciate a lot. I do really like it. I like how it looks. And obviously there are some scenes where it's like, how do they animate a like a dance and make it exciting. And it doesn't always like stick the landing for me. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, I could care about this if I cared. Like it's not enough to be like I'm so invested into this that I want to like watch actual dancing now. Like I still don't really care about some of the things, but it's still interesting enough to keep my eyes on the screen. Um, there's a lot of CGI involved, though. I will say that. Like anyone that's not being focused, but they're still dancing, because a lot of the dances there's multiple groups going on at the same time on the same floor. Most of them are CGI, which is I'm harsh about CGI. I'm really not a fan of it unless it's done in like the mecha genre. I feel like
Yeah.
mecha for me is like the only way to make CGI look good, but I'm super harsh and critical about that, so don't take my word for that. Um, but there is a lot of CGI on the characters that aren't involved or the characters that aren't actual characters. They're just there to, be filler dancers.
Mm-hmm.
But for the actual like big scenes, quote unquote, it looks really good. It does. It looks really cool. And a lot of things that like production IG will do that's really cool is like they'll add a lot more like sketchy detailing lines to some of the scenes to make it look more like intense and electrifying. So it's not as clean, but it still looks like really, really good,
Yeah.
which I do really like. So it's seems like almost a big love letter to like the art of like ballroom dancing, which is a little more obscure. But I'm all for it. I'm
I do
liking
feel
it.
like I do feel like every this is more preaching to like the entertainment industry, but I do feel like every niche game and sport deserves its own show. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
I feel like it needs that outlet. No matter how obscure it is, like if it's fucking curling or bridge
Dude,
or
curling anime?
checkers, I don't
Hell
know.
yeah. I'd be down.
Yeah.
I'd be down. I could see that working though. That's the thing. I could see that working because
Yeah, I could see
I
that
mean,
working
like
too.
here's another thing I could draw an example to. There's a series. Have you heard of a show called Chihaya Furu? I think I've brought it up to you before.
Yeah, it's
It's
what it's a
literally
Japanese
no,
board
it's
game or something.
literally it's a sports series. I would call it a sports series, but it's about a a reaction based card game based on ancient Japanese poetry. Like
Oh yeah,
how do you take that boring ass concept and make it like actually intense and interesting? And they do it. Like if you have the right studio and direction behind it, you could make an anime about anything, man. You could. As long as you have the right
yeah.
staff for the job, you could do it.
And I know it's not anime, so I won't spend much time on it. But I recently watched The Queen's Gambit on
Okay.
Netflix, and I haven't watched many like live action shows, like completed them in a while. But that show is one of the best live action shows I've
I've
seen
heard
in a
it's really
long
good, and
time.
I'm actually super into
Yeah,
chess too. Like I watch a lot of chess like all the time. So
it's really impressive. I know it's not anime, but I just wanted to mention that.
no, yeah, that's fine because like
Yeah.
that's kind of along the same vein. You can make a show about anything if you have the right people making it. And I mean, dude, a chess anime, I'd be down. I'd be down.
Yeah, no, so would
Also, I
I.
just looked it up while we were talking,
That would be
and
sick.
apparently, actually, Production IG did do Kuroko's basketball. So that's something I didn't
Okay.
know. It's crazy that they can do something so insanely exaggerated and so kind of stupid, and then go straight to
Hmm.
something a lot more realistic, like Welcome to the Ballroom. And still, I mean, they have completely different feels. Like, I mean, I just said that I thought it was a different studio. So I'd say that Production IG, in my opinion, are definitely the like kings of the sports genre, and I think that they should always be the ones making like the big headliner ones because they're just they're so good at what they do, man. They're so good at what they do. And I mean, having a Yuki Hayashi soundtrack as well, that is the biggest honor because that dude just knows how to make like really intense and emotional tracks.
The goat.
Such good music.
He's the Hans Zimmer of
Such
anime.
good music. Such good music. Like especially because a lot of his stuff will be like the same track but given a different pace, different tempo, different instruments used, but it'll still be the same song but for a different tone. Like it is so crazy how the
Yeah.
tone shift can happen with the same song. And he just so well done. I mean, I didn't really give a shit about like composers or like instrumental music until like Haikyuu, My
Oh
Hero
my god,
Academia,
dude.
like both done by him. It's crazy.
Violet Evergarden.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of the music from Violet as well. Really good.
Yeah. Like that was done by the Vienna Symphony Orchestra.
Okay.
So
That's
they
pretty
went all out
awesome,
for
yeah.
that one. Yeah.
So I'll reserve
All
the rest
right.
of my opinions for that because I'm like I said I think I'm like I want to say I'm 8 episodes in to Ballroom. Um so maybe I'll talk about
Oh
the
yeah,
rest of
there.
it later. Maybe I won't. Who knows? But yeah, I'll leave all my opinions to that. I'll just say I'm digging it so far, but I'm not like crazy about it like I was with like Haikyuu, where it like drew me in the first like 5 episodes.
Did it just recently
No, it was
come out?
2017. It was a 2017
Okay,
series.
so it's just like a 24
Yeah, it's
episode
24.
run or something like that. Okay. That's good to know that.
Mm-hmm. So
All right,
what
let's
have
get into this next one.
how many more have
All
you
right.
watched since then? Since the last one?
I have, I mean, I have three more, but one of them I won't even
Okay.
bother spending much time
Okay.
on. But the next one I actually like somewhat enjoyed, even though I have some maybe controversial opinions on it, is Beastars.
Okay. I
Um,
forgot that you watched this because I think you
a-
told me this as
Animation
well.
really like as far as the 3D animation space is concerned, like these are the first guys to do it right. Like this is the first show that really exhibits how good 3D animation can be. Like it's
Yeah,
impressive.
it's done by Studio
Like it isn't
Orange, which
yeah, it isn't perfect. Like it's not like completely believable in some areas, but as it's basically the best it's been as far as 3D animation
Yeah,
is
they also
concerned.
did. I'm pretty sure they also did Land of the Lustrous. I don't know if you've heard of that one, but
I have heard of it, but I haven't
the
seen it.
first like crazy like eye opener CG show that I've seen. Like I haven't watched it, but I've seen like clips of it, and it had a nomination for its year for like multiple reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, that like CG animation. I mean, I just talked about it. I'm not like too keen on, but when it's done
Hmm.
right, it does look pretty good. And I've seen clips from Beastars, Land of the Lustrous, and maybe some of the other things they've done. You're right. They do it right. It looks good.
Yeah. It's almost like the first few episodes. It kind of like your eyes almost have to adjust to it
Yeah.
because it's like you're not used to seeing the characters like
Yeah.
that. And as far as the narrative is concerned for Beastars, like I've not as much, but I feel like it's just more of a setup, almost like Demon Slayer
Mm-hmm.
was. I just felt like they tried to do more of an impactful climax, but it kind of fell flat for me.
Okay.
The whole dynamic between, so basically it works like all these animals are going to this school, high school, and you have your herbivores like deer, rabbits, whatever, and then you have your carnivores, tigers, wolves, all that,
Yeah.
and they have to coexist together. And it's basically like it's taboo in this society to eat meat.
Okay.
So everyone is completely not vegan, they're vegetarian because the carnivores are like they're eating eggs, they're drinking milk, stuff
Okay.
like that. But it's like it's completely taboo to eat meat, and like it starts out with a scene. The very first scene is you don't see who the carnivore or who the perpetrator is, but it starts out with an herbivore getting devoured.
Man, pretty shocking start. Damn.
Yeah. And so that's kind of like a setup to the whole vibe of the show.
Mm-hmm.
And basically this guy named Legoshi, who is a wolf, um, kind of falls for an herbivore, a rabbit. And that's basically just in this society it's just not something people do. It's like, you stay with your own. It's almost like they're trying to make a social commentary on segregation. Like it's not they don't beat you over the head with it, but it's just like you get that
Yeah.
vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um but I got to be honest, it made me feel a little weird, and I'm pretty sure I'm not a furry.
You're pretty sure. Like pretty sure.
Yeah, like some of the scenes there was like, yeah, I'm not into this at all.
Yeah. I think I know what you're talking about, but I haven't actually sat down and
Yeah.
watched Beastars yet, even though I heard nothing but good things from it. Like I heard so much praise about it. I don't know. I haven't sat down to watch it. It hasn't really drawn me in personally yet, but
I feel like the narrative is a little overrated, but other than that, totally get the hype. I just don't like. I'm waiting for something a little more compelling. I just like the main character and the side characters. They're okay, but they're not like I don't know. I can't really empathize with them. Like I don't really. Eh. Like, I don't know. You're not really getting me here. But yeah, yeah, really, it's a solid show. I give it a 7. I hope the next season is better.
pretty sure second season's out, isn't
Animation,
it?
great. Is it?
It's either
Shit, I
it's
don't know.
either already out or it's about to be.
Interesting.
Anyway, sorry.
Oh yeah, but there's a lot of unanswered questions. There's a lot of loose ends that need to be dealt with.
Okay.
So I'll reserve judgment for because it seems like it's the type of show that kind of takes the arc through all of the seasons as opposed to going season by season with the
Yeah.
arcs. Um, so yeah, it's good. Um, one final note: the opening. I like the music. Music's great. The stop motion didn't do it for me. I don't know. I didn't like it.
You don't fuck with
Uh,
stop motion animation?
no, that's not it. I just thought it was done poorly.
Okay.
I'm
I mean,
like,
all right.
I like stop motion. I thought it was kind of boring. The music's great though.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the opening won best opening for 2020.
It
Yeah.
did, and I had a problem with that.
It's okay. Apparently, so did every Jujutsu Kaisen fan, even though they won Anime of the Year and Ending of the Year. But it's fine.
So
Um,
yeah, that's B stars.
okay. So I think I've already told you everything that I've watched since. Oh, my bad. I hit my mic. Since the
Okay, I can keep going if
you
you.
might have to, yeah, because I don't. Unless I'm forgetting, I think I've covered everything.
Okay. So this next one I won't spend too much time on, but this was originally when I dropped actually. I think I started watching it in December,
Okay.
and I finally finished it like a
Is this
month
something
ago.
that you told me about
Japan
already?
Sinks.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
All right.
Japan Sinks 2020. Do you know how you said earlier that animation doesn't matter?
I know.
99% of the time, I would agree with you. I I cringed way too often when watching this show.
Because of the animation
Like
style.
some of the faces that the characters made and some of the ways they made some of the characters' bodies look honestly almost gave me a gag reflex. Like it was kind of gross. I couldn't ignore it. I couldn't suspend my disbelief. It was honestly so glaring and happened so much, especially towards the tail end of the show. I'm just like I can't even focus on the narrative. I just like who drew this? Who did this?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the person who is behind like all the designing of the art style and stuff is known for a really strange style. Because I'm pretty sure they also did. Oh, I'm probably gonna. This is probably gonna be a blatant lie, but I'm pretty sure they also did Ping Pong the Animations art style, maybe, and then also like something like Tatami Galaxy. I think is the same person as well. I could be completely wrong about that, but I think I've heard those names involved with Japan Sinks in terms of the same person behind all the art style and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard that they're like their whole style is just making really like abstract and wacky looking characters and stuff. But I haven't
Yeah.
watched anything with that style yet, so I can't say whether or not I like it. But yeah, I've heard it's pretty funky.
Do you know? Yeah, that's putting it lightly. Uh, do you know the premise of
No,
it of
no,
of
I
the
do
show?
not.
So I'll give you the premise. So basically, big gigantic earthquake hits Japan. Japan starts sinking into the sea,
Okay, so Japan literally
etc.
sinks. Okay, got it.
Yeah. Um. So it starts out with the main characters, which is basically this family of a girl, a boy. Girl is older than the boy, and then two parents. And they all start out separately, and as the earthquake happens, they all make their ways to each other, and then they figure out their shit from there.
Okay.
But one of the main things that happens before they find each other, the girl who is basically the main character, from what I can tell, uh, can is on the high school track team. I'm pretty sure it's high school. And the earthquake happens as they're in the locker room. Like they don't show you any nudity or anything like that, but that's not the point.
Darn.
The earthquake happens while they're in the locker room after they're done practicing. And obviously, the earthquake destroys the building.
Mm-hmm.
And she just fucking leaves. She doesn't help her friends. She just fucking leaves.
Just hauls ass out of there, man.
And immediately, I'm like, well, fuck this bitch. What the hell?
Hey, man, some people have their priorities set a little differently than you, all right?
Like, you're not gonna help your friend who's screaming in the corner? Like, what the fuck? Like, I don't think that actually happened, but she could have looked.
Fight or
Fucking
flight
hell.
response,
Like,
man.
immediately,
It does something to people.
I know, but God, that left a sour taste in my mouth. But besides that, the narrative just didn't do anything for me.
Okay.
Like, the characters weren't compelling.
Was it like your typical like 2012? like apocalyptic movie kind of thing.
Yeah, but it took weird plot twists. Like around the middle of the show, they come across this almost like cultish hippie camp in the middle of fucking nowhere, Japan, and like they're living. They just join the society, and then 2 episodes later, it all goes to shit, and the earthquakes start again, and Japan starts like, wait, why? Wait, what do you? What's the point here? Like, are you trying to leave Japan or aren't you? I don't get like what they're doing, and I don't know. It's honestly, it was so bad. It's tied for my worst rated
Wow.
now. Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't want to say anything more than that,
I've
but yeah.
heard people who are fans of like the same style of Japan Sings, like the same person, I mean, behind it, that said that it was like a little underwhelming compared to the rest of them. So I don't think you're in the minority thinking it wasn't that great. Uh, but I don't know anything
Yeah.
about it, so that's the only input I can add. But yeah, I think I've heard some stuff related to that.
Yeah, really I don't know. Like the main thing though, narrative aside, that fucking I can't get over the animation. I like it's honestly it's like a scar in my brain. Like like that just the way they make the characters' faces look. Like why? All right. All right, let me move on to the next show. Cuz
Get it out of your system. It's fine.
yeah. All right, the last show I watched was actually just watched in the last week. Um, was finally the end of SAO, War of Underworld
Oh,
Part
okay.
2. Um, actually, not as bad as I thought it would be.
Is it like the actual ending? Ending?
Yeah, it's like the ending. Like at the end, like post credits, they put up that thing. Kirito will return. Like, okay, it's gonna be SAO progressive. Let's be real. Um,
You make it seem like he died. Dun dun dun.
oh no. Um, honestly, the animation and the fight scenes way better than I remember SAO
I
being.
heard that Alicization in
Like,
general just had good animation.
yeah, animation fight scenes they kill it, and all of Alicization and World of Underworld really impressive animation, and it amazingly in the animation during the fight scenes. Yeah, and that is easily the shining light of the show. Like so, like honestly, amazing fights. Like I'm not trying to downplay this. Like really good fights.
Okay.
Animation solid, and because it's such a mainstream show, they get all the bangers for the
Yeah. Well,
openings.
I
So
mean,
both openings
yeah,
are
they had a
huge
lot of music
bangers.
from Lisa, didn't they? The girl behind the original
Yeah.
opening, who makes good music. I mean, she also did Demon Slayer's opening, uh, and
Hmm.
she just makes great music. But she's like one of those artists that was really like tied to Sao, um, and they probably kept asking her like, "Hey, can we keep using your music because it's really good?" So, yeah, no surprise
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. The opener for part two is called "Anima" by Rayona.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
don't know
I
if you've
actually
heard of
don't
her.
know. I haven't heard that.
Yeah, but banger. Um, the story. I mean, I'll give it this. Besides the first 13 episodes, it's the best SAO story arc.
Okay.
Um, it's actually like somewhat intriguing. Uh, because like it's like they do the thing where they kind of find shoehorn solutions out of problems where it should be a lot more complicated than you're making it out.
Yeah.
And they have the emotional scenes with, all the girls come to save Kirito because, of course, he's the harem
Because
king.
every other character that's developed in SAO is a woman besides him, apparently. Which is kind of
Exactly.
annoying, but it's whatever.
And Klein and Aegir are just sitting over there like Mike Wazowski style. uh, but yeah, like the emotional scenes were shit. Because that's just how they built up the characters makes it shit. Fight scenes great. Uh, yeah, the enemy was interesting. I'll give it that. and the way they resolved it was okay. I don't have any problems with it, but it didn't like blow me out
How
of the
does
water.
it feel as like
But
an
yeah,
actual ending? Like compared to other endings, how does it feel as an ending?
compared to other endings of
No, no, no.
SAO
Just like
or
in
compared
terms
to
of
like
like how something ends. Like, does it feel like it's a good enough ending, or is it just like a this is
it's good enough, but
like obviously not like
you're
Code
like
Geass level of
I
ending, but like
do yeah, but like like some of the plot points they used to get there were like they didn't really explain it or back it up enough with enough. Yeah, I don't know. There are some good parts like there are uh, I mean, it's not a spoiler, but I'll tell you this, like it takes place in like obviously they're in an alternate world, but the place where they're docked into the alternate world is a underground base in the middle of the ocean, and there is a separate story with the characters that aren't plugged into the world, along with all the shit with Kirito Asuna and all his friends in the virtual world as well. So that does add an interesting dynamic to it that SAO didn't usually have
okay,
originally. So that makes it a little more interesting. But the ending, I like the last few episodes, it kind of just ramps up real quick, and then there isn't much like it's climax, and then there isn't really much like resolution. And it's kind of just like this happens, and there's like one episode of resolution, and Kirito will return. I'm like, okay, we're back to where we started, I guess.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, they've
yeah, but
based all
like,
of its plot around VR, so they technically could infinitely keep making new plots. Like that's the beauty of making something in like a
yeah,
virtual world is that they can just keep writing new shit out of nowhere and just make it work. Like you have a lot of limitations with the real world to work with, but they don't
hmm
give a shit because they made everything in VR. So
yeah. But I will say like, given because you know SAO, you got your first 13 episodes, and then you got your Alfheim shit, which technically is one arc, the 25 episodes, at least the way they
I
released it.
mean, yeah, but I consider that the second arc.
Yeah, yeah, I see what you mean. And then you have Gun Gale, and then you have like 7 episodes of dog shit, and then you have like that Mother's Rosario thing with that
Hold on a
girl.
minute. You're saying that like the like 20 episodes before that weren't dog shit.
I'm not saying they were dog shit. I'm saying they were shit.
Fair, I guess.
Yeah.
Shit is
Yeah.
still shit, I guess.
And then you start the Alicization arc, which is 24 episodes, and then you get War of Underworld parts 1 and 2, which are I think 12 episodes and 11 episodes. So if you take the Alicization arc as a whole, which is 24 episodes of Alicization and then both War of Underworld arcs, not bad. Not
Like
bad.
genuinely
Honestly,
not
not
bad.
bad. Yeah, obviously, we're talking SAO here, but not bad. Like 6, 7 out of 10,
Okay, interesting.
maybe.
So, I mean, it's
Yeah.
been oh my god, it's been at least how long has it been? Maybe at least 6 years, 5 years. No, probably around 5 years since I've watched anything SAO because I've SAO was my first anime. I mean,
hmm
we've talked about this. We talked about this in the first episode, but
Yep.
um, I mean, I fucking loved it when I first started out. That's what got me into anime. I was like, oh my god, my little 14-year-old
Yeah,
teenager
everyone
self. I
did.
was like, this shit's awesome. These girls are cute. Whatever, stupid shit. And I mean, looking back, realistically, the first arc is really the only thing I care about, and like 6 out of 10 maybe care about. But would you say that it would actually be worth watching the rest of it? Because I stopped after SAO 2. I did. I stopped after
Yeah, I
SAO 2.
mean, don't watch anything SAO. Like after Gun Gale, there's like 11 episodes of crap. Just don't
No,
even mess with
yeah, no,
that.
I finished SAO 2, but
Yeah.
I'm saying I haven't seen anything Alicization and Beyond, and the way you're
Okay, no,
talking about it makes me
Alicization
actually want to maybe give it
with
a
the
try.
combination of War of Under like Alicization just by itself, I gave a 7. I thought it was good. War of Underworld is the like the big climax of Alicization. It's like the everything Alicization builds up to, and it's like it's okay. It's about as good as Alicization built it up to be.
Okay.
So it's solid. I'd say maximum 7 out of 10. I wouldn't give it any more than that, but it's worth watching in my
Yeah,
opinion.
because I mean, I've always like, oh, excuse me, I've always like dogged on Sao, but I mean, I've had reason to because everything I've seen was kind of poopy. But
Yeah.
I also have a strange attachment to the series, being it was my literal first. So maybe I'll actually pick it up again soon and watch it from that point on.
There is like a overarching theme they are pushing with the whole Alicization arc with World of Underworld, and like you're introduced to it at the beginning of Alicization. It's almost like this idea because the world that Kirito goes into isn't a world with other human characters. It's basically an AI generated world where all the characters are artificial intelligence that have been built from birth. So their minds are completely made out of this. They're basically
So they're
human,
just
but
NPCs.
yeah, they're NPCs, but they're as human as a human is.
Okay.
So it's almost like this debate of is artificial intelligence real life, and are they the same as us, and can they build the same relationships based on their
So you're
experiences?
saying that's
So it
from
does.
Alicization, like starting from then. That's the concept that they.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's basically the whole overarching
So is it a
theme
spoiler to
of
say
the arc.
like why the hell he went there in the first place? Because last time with was it
He was hired to.
okay, that was kind of the same thing with which
Yeah,
one was it? Was that Alfheim or Gungale where he was like,
Gun
okay, yeah,
Gale,
they were
Gun
like,
Gale. But
go into our
but
game.
they're actually like it actually like and yeah, there were stakes in Gun Gale, but this time it's like there are stakes, but it's a lot more interesting than just people's lives. Like it's a much more nuanced than
I
Gun
think that's
Gale.
one of the things that really fell off with SAO. Like other than the fact that it just kind of turned into poopy writing, but other than that, like um, you know, after uh the first arc, Alfheim didn't have any stakes. It was just a RPG game,
Yeah,
and
it was just this.
it was just weird.
All right, yeah, it was just this guy creeping
Oh
on
my
this
god,
girl with
dude,
his.
that has got to be
Uh,
one of the worst arcs like in fiction, dude. That shit sucked. But then also like Gun Gale,
all right,
there
there.
was there was really weird stuff as well. Uh, where it was like,
There's a little bit of that in
I
Alicization. I'm
mean,
not gonna
okay,
lie.
that's the thing. I expect it though because the person who wrote SAO
Yeah.
just has this weird attachment to that concept, and it's weird. It's so weird.
Yeah, there's a. I wouldn't say it's as gratuitous as they did it in the original arc with Alfheim, but there's still a
Like
little
even
bit of
even
that.
SAO2 has it with the weird dude that like is the quote unquote main villain, and even
Yeah.
he's got some weird touchy feely shit going on. Like why is that every antagonist in this series? Why? Just make them like actually.
It's not all right. Yeah, with it, it's not really like that with Alicization. There are smaller, and it's more like there are these smaller, less important antagonists that do it, not the main
It doesn't
guys.
make any sense. I mean, to be fair, at least with the
Yeah.
first uh, part of SAO, they actually didn't even have that hardly at all. There was maybe one character that was like that, but there always has to be one, I guess.
Yep. So yeah, that was a little cringe, but no, it's worth watching.
Yeah,
It's worth
I've
watching. The 24 episodes of Alicization and both
I've
World of
actually
Underworld.
heard it's a little bit of a
Yeah.
redeeming form of SAO to an extent, with typical SAO strange shit.
I
But
agree because after Aincrad, it was kind of just fell flat for the most part,
literally
and
fell
it does
flat.
redeem it
Like it
some.
literally fell flat.
It Yeah, it definitely redeems it somewhat, not completely, but somewhat.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. Well, maybe I'll end up watching it. Maybe I'm definitely considering it now. But uh, that's
And one oh yeah, actually let you finish because I was going to mention another show.
oh well, yeah. I was just gonna say like
Yeah.
I didn't really think about it before, but like when Alicization and stuff first started airing, there were a decent amount of people that originally would say that SAO was just objectively bad that thought, well, it's actually kind of decent now. And I was always kind of like,
Mhm.
I didn't want to swallow my pride because I've always just thought that SAO sucked. And I don't want to admit that maybe it actually is okay now. But we'll see. I'm probably going to watch it and give it a chance. We'll see.
worth watch. That it's not gonna do anything for you
I don't expect it to. I
emotionally,
don't expect it to.
but it's worth watching, especially for the fight scenes and the animation. It's like really good.
Okay.
Um, and well, I guess before we sign off, I should mention that I have started watching. I'm not done with it. I'm like 10 episodes in. I've started watching Cowboy Bebop,
Oh,
and
interesting.
it hasn't really hooked me, but it's really
I heard it's
interesting.
pretty episodic.
Um,
I heard it's very much so. Plot starts one episode,
it
ends the
starts
same
out that
episode.
way. It starts out that way, but I think I'm starting to get to like the point where it
Okay.
ramps up a bit. But yeah,
Interesting.
uh, really interesting world. Um, amazing music, great opening. They do this thing that a lot of people wouldn't notice, where the name of each episode is the name of a classic song.
Ah.
Um, and very like it's exactly what you think. It's space cowboy shit.
Yeah,
It's
I've
cool.
seen. I mean, I feel like it's pretty hard not to have heard of Cowboy Bebop or like seen like what it's about without even watching it. Which
Hmm.
I've always put it off for some reason, but I've been told countlessly that it is like a classic. Like you have to watch it, even if you don't love it. Just at least watch it. Just watch it. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Because I actually funny enough that you just reminded me that there's actually something else I did start while in the past
Oh,
month,
okay.
but I literally watched one episode because the subtitles were delayed and it pissed me off, so I stopped watching it. And I don't know where else to watch it now, but whatever. I started Samurai Champloo. That was a fucking tongue twister.
Oh yeah.
And the first episode of that is a absolute banger of an episode. Like it's so good, but I could only watch the first episode because the subtitles were delayed by like a second and a half. So when someone started talking, you wouldn't get to read it until we were halfway done with their sentence, and I was getting so annoyed by it. Like
Mm.
obviously I could look past it and just watch it anyway, but then I got to episode 2 and I was like, maybe it fixed itself, and it didn't. I was like, ah, so I couldn't keep watching it, but I
Oof.
plan to because the first episode is really good. Samurai Champloo is another one, insanely good music. They actually, here's one thing I really like. I know I just kind of like completely cut you off. I apologize. Um,
No, no, I
okay,
didn't really have
but
much more to say. Most of my opinion on Cowboy Bebop will come next podcast
speaking
when
of
I actually
music,
finish it.
the OST for Samurai Champloo is actually really interesting because they completely base the OST with like a hip hop vibe to it. Um, and they have like a lot of the like um sounds and stuff like really, I don't know, it's just really like they add like Edo Japan, your typical Edo Japan samurai, but with like a hip hop OST and like a hip hop opening and stuff like that.
Hmm.
It's like that's cool. That's not really something like that's unique as hell. And it's awesome.
Yeah.
It kind of really does give me like Adult Swim vibes though, and I think it did air on Adult Swim when it first came out. But I don't know, man. I really dig that first episode, and I definitely plan to watch it whenever I can find a place where the subtitles aren't delayed because I want to watch it sub because I really like the voice actors in the sub.
Yeah.
The one of the main characters. There's three main characters. One of them is voiced by the same guy who voices Zoro in One Piece, the same sub voice actor, and
Oh, there you
like
go.
it's a swordsman. It's a badass swordsman with that voice actor. I mean, come on, like.
Yeah, a lot of people kind of pair Cowboy Bebop and
Yeah,
Samurai
that's why I
Champloo
brought that
together
up. Is
as
because that's usually
yeah.
people always compare those two as like some classics that you should watch, even though they didn't air anywhere near the same
Hmm.
time. Bebop was like what 98, 99, or maybe it was 89.
When was
Was it
Bebop?
89 or 99?
Oh,
I think it was the 90s. Um, it was old.
it was 98.
98. That's what it was. Um,
Yeah.
and Samurai Champloo came out in like what, like 2005, 2005, 2006.
Yeah, I always hear like a lot of I
2005.
always hear a lot of
Yeah.
people saying you have to watch Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo, but they almost always say that they prefer Samurai Champloo,
I've heard.
which I always
I
found
mean,
really
for the people that
interesting.
have seen both, I've heard like flip flop opinions. It's either one or the other they prefer, but still, like for some reason, those two are paired, and I don't understand why personally. Like, I don't understand why they're like paired as like the two like classics, quote unquote, that you should watch. But like, yeah, I've
Yeah.
heard that same thing. I've heard that all the time. But like, they've aired literally 6 years apart from each other. Actually, 7 years.
I will say this though, you have to watch the dub.
Oh
for
yeah, no,
Cowboy
I plan
Bebop.
to. I definitely plan to.
Yeah.
I forget the guy's name who voices Spike, but he's like a legendary voice actor. Doesn't he
Yeah,
also do
I
Snake?
forget his name too.
Pretty sure he also does.
You
Pretty sure he
might
also
be
does Snake
right.
from Metal Gear.
Voice actor. Steve Blum. Yeah,
Classic.
that sounds
What a
right.
classic voice actor. Yeah, I plan to watch the dub. Funnily enough, I've actually never heard anything from the sub of Cowboy Bebop because I'm pretty sure it's just the general opinion to just watch it dubbed.
Yeah, like everyone knows. Yeah, that's just you watch that
Yeah.
dubbed.
Well, I
Yeah,
think we've gotten out everything we needed to. Bit of a weird month
indeed.
for me. I started a few shows, dropped a few shows, and there's only
Yeah,
like two that I could genuinely
agreed.
say I'm really into right now. But I mean,
Yeah, for me it was like the first time
right when the season
in like
ends, we have a ton of new shit to start over. So
exactly the first time in a while I actually watched a live action show. I know, crazy.
whoa.
Yeah. But yeah, the next once May hits, it's gonna get
Wait, why
crazy
specifically
because
May?
I don't even know which one to like. I think I have to watch Attack on Titan first because like that's just it's the hype one, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the
Yeah.
you know what's funny? I'm pretty sure that like I haven't kept up on anything. I've been trying to avoid for the past couple months anything Attack on Titan related, but I'm pretty sure that these 16 episodes is
Same.
the final season. I don't think there's going to be a part 2.
It's 16
Yeah,
episodes.
it's
That's it.
16. And I think that
Okay,
I think there's
interesting.
nothing else. I'm pretty sure that the actual finale is like this week or next week. Um
Oh
yeah.
wow, I thought it would be
I
24.
thought
I thought we would have to wait
no,
till May.
I don't know. Maybe you're right about that, but I've been trying to avoid all things Attack on Titan, but when the first like final when the final season first got announced, it showed an air date of
Okay.
16 episodes and people were like, "Was this a part 1? It has to be a part 1. There's so many chapters left." And some people are saying it's an actual finale. I haven't heard someone say otherwise yet. So,
Well, if you find out that it actually has finished, let me know, because then I can start watching.
yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Uh,
I don't think it's being simulcasted though, so I think you might have to still wait for the dub longer than I do.
oh, it's not?
I'll have to
Damn.
look it up. But
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know. I could be completely wrong about that, but like I said, I mean, I've been waiting to watch it until it's fully finished. So if this is a part 1, then I'm sure
Yeah.
I would be more surprised if this was the actual finale because episode 16 airs like next week. Um,
Yeah.
so
60, that's just a weird number
I know
for
it
anime.
is. It is. I mean, a couple
Yeah.
of shows were only 11 episodes as opposed to 12 this season, which is also weird. But it's not uncommon for 11 episodes to be an
Yeah,
airtime.
I mean, name another show that's 64 episodes and uh
I was just gonna say, I was
Full
like,
Metal
I mean,
Alchemist
the only one I
Brotherhood
can think of is Fullmetal
was
Alchemist Brotherhood.
nailed that shit. So
Apparently,
yeah, name another show that's 64 episodes.
yeah, I don't know. Like Soul Eater was
um
51, I think, which is
yeah.
a weird number as well.
I know you fucking trolled me on the Hunter x Hunter thing.
I can't, dude. I knew that was gonna get
But
you.
Black Clover.
Yeah, that I'm pretty sure that also finishes
Yeah.
next week, the last episode. Um, so I definitely gotta get
Okay.
back on
In
that.
that case, I might hop. Yeah.
I def
I stopped at what? How many episodes are there? One
there's
something? 170?
170, I think. I don't
Okay.
know.
Because I stopped at 130 something. So I can't,
Yeah, I
can't
stopped
be too
like
many more
20
episodes.
episodes before you did, I think, or maybe 10 episodes before you did.
Okay.
But yeah, that's interesting. Like, because I randomly opened up Twitter the other day and it was like the last episode of Black Clover is airing in like 2 weeks, and I was like, what? And I was like, I didn't think it was this
Shit.
close to being done. I thought it was gonna keep going for another like 50
Yeah,
episodes.
like the way they were building it up, I was expecting at least to get to the 200 episode
I
mark.
mean, that's to me that's
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell because I'm so far behind, but it seems like that's actually a promising pacing because like I mean, they already did everything in their, quote unquote kingdom, and then they were heading to the next kingdom after that. And that was at like I mean, I think you were watching when they were in
Yeah, but
another kingdom, weren't they?
they made it out to be like at least from my interpretation, they made it out to be these four kingdoms based on the four sets of
Yeah,
cards.
and
And I thought we would get something from each
well,
one of them.
I think
And
there
I
will
know we
be
got I know we got something
the Diamond
from another
Kingdom.
kingdom right before I stopped. But yeah, I didn't know how big of a story it was like. It was gonna be like One Piece level, or
I would hope not. I don't think
because I'm
there's
feel
enough content in Black Clover for
yeah.
that.
or is it going to be like Hunter x Hunter level? And I know Hunter's not finished, but like it has a similar episode count, 144. But yeah,
I thought that was so funny. I knew that I was gonna catch you on that too. I sent you the fake Crunchyroll post that
I
said
should have
Hunter x Hunter's
checked
coming back like
the
this summer or something or this fall,
yeah.
and you were like, what? And I was like, all right, check the ad. It's not the Crunchyroll ad. um, yeah, but yeah, that's just wishful thinking. That's me trying to cope with the pain that it just probably is never coming back.
Yeah.
Uh,
God.
but yeah, interesting. I'm gonna. It's gonna be exciting to see. I'm actually genuinely excited to watch Black Clover again, even though I have a lot of issues with it, but I still like it to an extent. Um,
Yeah, I want to see if it exceeds my initial rating. I want to see if it actually like lives up to all the build up, because I don't, in my opinion, it kind of hasn't so far. So
yeah, I mean, we've talked about Black Clover before, but the big issue it has is just dumping all of its budget money into the climax of an arc and then going to absolute shit right after and just being boring again. So it's
well
really good for like
yeah,
five
I mean,
episodes, and then it's just not after that.
my main issue was just the climax was kind of just predictable
Yeah, yeah.
and not
It doesn't seem like it's like
nuanced at all.
trying to be anything else though. It seems like it's just trying to be your generic shonen
Yeah,
just with hype.
that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, it's
Whatever, I
fine.
don't
It's fine.
know. All right, should we cut it
Yeah,
there?
probably.
All right. Well, this has been Tyler. I have been Jay. Thank you so much for listening. Um, leave a comment, leave a like, drop a subscribe. You know, all these weird terms that we use as
Hit
YouTubers.
that bell.
Subscribe if you know. Yeah, and I hope you guys enjoyed. And stay tuned for next
See you
time.
next month.
See ya. Yeah.